Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to talk to you about something fundamental, something that sits at the very core of who you are and what you can become. You must believe in yourself, not as some shallow self-help mantra, not as wishful thinking, but as an absolute necessity if you are ever going to bring order to the chaos of your own life. Because here's the truth, life is difficult. It's full of suffering, uncertainty, and failure. You will be tested. You will fall short. And if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't truly see yourself as someone capable of rising up, of facing that struggle with courage, then you will be crushed by it. But there's another side to that reality. You are far more capable than you think. There is strength in you that has yet to be realized. There is potential buried beneath layers of fear, doubt, and hesitation. And the only way to uncover it is to take responsibility for your life, to stand up straight with your shoulders back, and to move forward despite the uncertainty. So tonight, let's talk about what it means to truly believe in yourself, not just as an idea, but as a way of being, because your future, your success, and your ability to bring order to the chaos depend on it. Standing up straight with your shoulders back is not just about posture. It is a reflection of your inner state, a signal to yourself and the world that you are ready to take on responsibility and confront life's challenges. When you slouch, when you collapse inward, when you shrink yourself physically, you are embodying defeat before you have even begun to fight. Your body tells a story before your words do, and it influences not only how others perceive you, but how you perceive yourself. The way you carry yourself is a direct manifestation of your confidence, your readiness to engage with the world, and your willingness to bear the burdens that life inevitably places upon you. Posture is deeply connected to biology. If you observe animals, particularly those in dominance hierarchies, you'll notice that the creatures at the top stand tall, puff out their chests, and hold themselves with a sense of presence. The defeated ones, the ones lower in the hierarchy, shrink, hunch over, and avert their gaze. This is not just a coincidence. There is a direct link between physical posture and brain chemistry. Studies have shown that when a person stands up straight, maintains an open posture, and projects confidence, their serotonin levels increase. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter associated with feelings of well-being, motivation, and resilience. When serotonin levels are high, a person is more likely to take risks, engage with the world, and push forward despite obstacles. When serotonin levels are low, the opposite happens. They become passive, anxious, and overwhelmed by adversity. People often believe that confidence is something that comes from within, that it must be cultivated mentally before it is expressed externally. But the reality is that it works in both directions. How you act influences how you feel. If you act as though you are confident, even when you are not, your body starts to send signals to your brain that you are in control. This is why posture is so important. If you want to believe in yourself, if you want to develop the kind of self-assurance that allows you to take on responsibility and move forward, you must first embody it. You must physically manifest the belief that you are someone capable of handling life's difficulties. The world responds to how you present yourself. If you carry yourself like a defeated individual, people will treat you accordingly. If you present yourself as someone who is strong, competent, and ready to take on challenges, people will interact with you differently. Opportunities will arise because people are naturally drawn to those who appear capable. This is not about arrogance or pretending to be something you are not. It is about embodying the strength that is already within you, but has been buried under self-doubt and hesitation. The problem is that many people have spent years, sometimes decades, reinforcing a defeated posture. They have conditioned themselves to slouch, to look down, to avoid eye contact, to shrink into the background. This is often the result of repeated failures, traumas, or negative reinforcement from their environment. Over time, these patterns become ingrained, and breaking out of them requires conscious effort. It requires the decision to stand up straight, to face the world head on, and to refuse to let past defeats dictate future potential. Children instinctively stand tall when they feel proud. Watch a child who has accomplished something. They puff out their chest, they lift their head, and they look around as if to say, I did that. But over time, as they experience setbacks, criticism, or rejection, they begin to close in on themselves. They become hesitant, afraid to take up space, afraid to assert themselves. By the time they reach adulthood, many people have completely lost that natural confidence, replacing it with a learned posture of submission and avoidance. Reversing this pattern requires conscious effort. It means catching yourself when you slouch, reminding yourself to stand up straight, to pull your shoulders back, to look people in the eye. It means practicing presence, being aware of how you hold yourself in different situations, and making a deliberate effort to project confidence, even when you don't feel it internally. Over time, this external practice begins to shape your internal reality. The more you act like someone who believes in themselves, the more you will actually start to believe it. Posture is also about resilience. When life knocks you down, you have two choices: stay down or get back up. And getting back up is not just a metaphorical act. It is a physical one. It is the act of straightening your spine, lifting your head, and refusing to let the weight of the world crush you. It is an act of defiance against the forces that seek to make you small, weak, and afraid. It is a reminder to yourself and to the world that you are not defeated, that you are still in the fight, and that you are willing to face whatever comes your way. Your body and mind are deeply connected. If you allow your body to collapse under the pressures of life, your mind will follow. But if you stand tall, if you carry yourself with strength and determination, you will begin to feel that strength internally. The way you move through the world shapes your psychological state, and by changing how you hold yourself, you can change the way you think, the way you feel, and ultimately, the way you live. Taking responsibility for your life is the foundation upon which everything else is built. It is the recognition that no one is coming to save you, that no external force will suddenly intervene to make everything better. It is the acceptance that the choices you make, the actions you take, and the way you respond to circumstances are entirely within your control. Without this realization, you remain stuck, blaming others, resenting your circumstances, and waiting for a change that will never come. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the path to meaning, purpose, and real confidence in yourself. Many people avoid responsibility because it is difficult. It requires effort, discipline, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. It means acknowledging your flaws, your mistakes, and your limitations without making excuses for them. But avoiding responsibility only leads to stagnation. If you refuse to take ownership of your actions, you give up your power. You become a victim of external forces, tossed around by life without any sense of control. This is a dangerous place to be because it fosters helplessness, resentment, and a deep-seated belief that you are incapable of improving your situation. The first step in taking responsibility is recognizing that your life is the product of your choices. Even if bad things have happened to you, even if circumstances have been unfair, even if you have been dealt a difficult hand, you still have a choice in how you respond. You can either let those circumstances define you, allowing them to dictate the rest of your life, or you can take ownership of the only thing you truly control, your actions. People who take responsibility do not dwell on unfairness. They focus on what they can do to improve their situation. They ask themselves, what can I do right now to make things better? Instead of why is this happening to me? There is immense power in this shift in perspective. The moment you stop blaming others, the moment you stop waiting for something external to change, you reclaim control. You stop wasting energy on things you cannot influence and start directing it toward things you can. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of shaping your own destiny rather than as a passive observer of your own life. This does not mean ignoring hardship or pretending that challenges do not exist. It means refusing to let those challenges dictate your potential. One of the hardest aspects of taking responsibility is confronting your own shortcomings. It is easy to point fingers to say that your failures are the result of someone else's actions, that your lack of success is due to external circumstances, but this mindset only keeps you stuck. The truth is, in many cases, you are the one holding yourself back. Your habits, your fears, your unwillingness to step outside your comfort zone, these are the real barriers between you and the life you want. And you take responsibility, you stop making excuses for these barriers, and instead you start working to overcome them. People who refuse to take responsibility often fall into a pattern of self-deception. They tell themselves that they are unlucky, that the world is against them, that they are victims of forces beyond their control. But this is not reality. Reality is that you have more control than you think. If you are in a bad situation, you may not have chosen it, but you are responsible for how you deal with it. If you are unhappy with your job, your relationships, your health, or any other aspect of your life, you have the ability to change it. It may not be easy, it may not be immediate, but it is possible. And the first step is acknowledging that no one else is responsible for fixing it except you. Taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself about your capabilities and limitations. It means identifying your weaknesses, not as a way to shame yourself, but as a way to address them. If you are undisciplined, acknowledge it and start building better habits. If you lack skills in a certain area, recognize that and commit to learning. If you struggle with confidence, take small steps toward developing it rather than expecting it to appear magically. Self-awareness is crucial because it allows you to see where you need to improve instead of pretending that the problem is outside of you. Another key aspect of responsibility is understanding that your past does not define you. Many people carry guilt, regret, and shame for mistakes they have made. They dwell on their failures, allowing them to shape their identity. But responsibility is not about punishing yourself for the past. It is about learning from it and making better choices moving forward. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has moments of weakness, failure, and regret. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is the willingness to take responsibility for those mistakes and use them as fuel for growth. When you take responsibility, you also begin to develop a sense of purpose. You start setting goals, making plans, and taking deliberate action toward the life you want. You stop drifting and start moving with intention. This does not mean you will always succeed. Failure is inevitable. But when you take responsibility, failure is no longer something that defines you. It becomes a lesson. You adjust, you adapt, and you keep going. You do not let setbacks become excuses to give up. You take ownership of your progress and you continue forward no matter how difficult the path may be. Facing the chaos with courage is one of the most fundamental and unavoidable aspects of life. Chaos is everywhere. It exists in uncertainty and failure and the unknown and in the suffering that every person will inevitably encounter. Life does not provide a safe, predictable path where everything unfolds according to a carefully designed plan. Instead, it presents obstacles, tragedies, and challenges that can feel overwhelming. Many people respond to this chaos with fear, avoidance, or paralysis. They shrink back, hoping that if they ignore the difficulties, they will somehow disappear. But that is not how life works. Avoiding chaos does not eliminate it. It only makes it stronger. It allows the unknown to grow larger and more intimidating until it takes control of your life. The only real solution is to face it head on, to confront the uncertainty and the suffering with courage, to step forward even when you do not know what lies ahead. Courage is not the absence of fear. Many people believe that those who act bravely are simply not afraid, but that is not true. Fear is a natural and necessary response to the unknown. It alerts you to danger, to risk, to the possibility of failure. But fear can also be deceptive. It can convince you that you are incapable, that you are too weak to handle what life throws at you. If you listen to that fear without question, it will control you. It will stop you from taking risks, from pursuing meaningful goals, from stepping outside of what is comfortable and familiar. Courage is the decision to move forward despite the fear, to refuse to let it dictate your actions. It is the recognition that the unknown is terrifying, but that remaining stagnant is far worse. People who do not face chaos with courage often become trapped in a cycle of avoidance. They stay in unfulfilling jobs because they are afraid of uncertainty. They remain in toxic relationships because they fear loneliness. They avoid difficult conversations because they do not want to deal with conflict. They hesitate to take opportunities because they are afraid of failure. Every time they choose comfort over courage, their world becomes smaller. Their confidence diminishes, their potential goes unrealized, and they become more and more disconnected from the life they could have lived. The problem with this approach is that chaos does not go away simply because it is ignored. It builds up, waiting for the moment when it can no longer be avoided. Eventually, the person who refuses to face the chaos willingly will be forced to confront it when it becomes unbearable. By that time, they are often unprepared, weakened by years of inaction, and consumed by regret for all the moments they let fear control them. The alternative is to face the chaos voluntarily, to step into the unknown willingly with full awareness of the risks, but also the understanding that avoiding them is far worse. This does not mean being reckless. It does not mean running toward danger without preparation. It means acknowledging that uncertainty is part of life and choosing to engage with it instead of being paralyzed by it. It means taking on challenges before they become insurmountable, confronting difficulties while they are still manageable, and actively working to bring order to the chaos rather than letting it consume you. One of the most effective ways to develop courage in the face of chaos is to start small. Fear is often most powerful when it is vague and undefined. When you have no plan, when you do not know where to begin, fear takes over and convinces you that the challenge is too great. But when you break the chaos down into smaller, manageable steps, it becomes less intimidating. Instead of being overwhelmed by the enormity of the unknown, you focus on what you can do right now. You take one small step forward, then another, and then another. Each step builds confidence. Each step reinforces the belief that you are capable of handling more than you thought. Another essential part of facing chaos with courage is accepting that failure is inevitable. Many people are paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes, of looking foolish, of trying and not succeeding. But failure is not something to be feared. It is something to be learned from. Every person who has ever achieved anything meaningful has failed, often repeatedly. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is that successful people do not let failure stop them. They see it as part of the process. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and try again. This ability to adapt and keep moving forward is what separates those who grow from those who remain stagnant. It is also important to recognize that chaos is not always destructive. While it can bring suffering and hardship, it can also bring opportunity. The unknown is where growth happens. It is where new possibilities emerge, where potential is realized. If everything in life were predictable and controlled, there would be no room for discovery, for transformation, for the kind of personal development that only happens when you push beyond your limits. The moments that shape you the most are the ones where you are forced to confront something difficult, to navigate uncertainty, to face fear and come out stronger on the other side. No one can eliminate chaos completely, and trying to do so is a waste of time. Life will always be unpredictable, and there will always be challenges that test your resolve. But what you can do is develop the ability to face those challenges with strength, to build the resilience necessary to handle whatever comes your way. You do this by choosing courage over comfort, by stepping forward instead of retreating, by recognizing that while fear is natural, it does not have to be in control. Chaos will always exist, but you have the power to decide how you respond to it. Speaking the truth even to yourself is one of the most difficult but necessary actions you can take if you want to build real belief in yourself. People lie all the time, not just to others, but to themselves. They tell themselves they are happy when they are not. They convince themselves they are doing their best when they know they are not putting in the effort. They justify bad habits, ignore their flaws, and avoid difficult truths because those truths are painful. But the problem is that dishonesty, especially self-deception, weakens you. Every time you avoid the truth, you make yourself smaller. You give up a piece of your integrity, a piece of your self-respect, and a piece of your confidence. Because deep down, even if you refuse to acknowledge it, you know when you are lying to yourself. People avoid the truth for many reasons. Sometimes they are afraid of what it will mean for their lives. If they admit that their job is unfulfilling, they might have to make a change, and change is difficult. If they acknowledge that a relationship is toxic, they might have to leave, and leaving is painful. If they face the fact that they have not been disciplined, they might have to take responsibility, and responsibility is hard. So instead, they choose to live in denial. They tell themselves that things are fine, that they are doing the best they can, that the problem is someone else's fault. But denial does not make the problem go away. It only delays the inevitable, and the longer you avoid the truth, the worse things become. The problem you refuse to face grows larger, the dissatisfaction deepens, and the weight of unspoken reality becomes heavier. Self-deception is particularly dangerous because it disconnects you from reality. When you refuse to see things as they are, you lose the ability to navigate life effectively. You start making decisions based on illusions rather than facts. You convince yourself that you are making progress when you are actually standing still. You make excuses instead of making changes. You justify weakness instead of developing strength. Over time, this erodes your confidence. How can you believe in yourself if you do not even trust yourself to be honest? If you constantly lie about your effort, your abilities, or your emotions, how can you have any real sense of who you are and what you are capable of? Speaking the truth, even when it is painful, is the foundation of real self-respect. It means looking at yourself honestly and admitting where you have fallen short. It means acknowledging your fears, your mistakes, and your weaknesses without trying to cover them up. But it also means recognizing your strengths, your victories, and your potential without minimizing them. The truth is not just about pointing out your flaws. It is about seeing yourself clearly, both the good and the bad, and using that knowledge to improve. One of the most important truths you must tell yourself is where you are not living up to your potential. People have an incredible capacity for self-justification. They tell themselves that they are working hard when they know they are only putting in minimal effort. They convince themselves that they are unlucky when they have actually made poor choices. They blame others for their problems because it is easier than taking responsibility. But if you want to believe in yourself, you must stop telling yourself comfortable lies. You must ask yourself hard questions. Am I truly putting in the effort? Am I making excuses? Am I avoiding something I know I need to confront? If the answer is no, then you have identified an area where you need to grow. And once you acknowledge that, you can begin to change. Telling the truth also means being willing to face the reality of your emotions. People often suppress what they truly feel because they think ignoring it will make it go away. But emotions do not disappear just because they are unacknowledged. They build up, they distort your thinking, and they manifest in ways you may not even realize. If you are unhappy, admit it. If you are afraid, say it out loud. If you are angry, recognize the reason behind it. The more honest you are with yourself about what you feel, the more control you have over your own mind. When you suppress the truth, it controls you from the shadows. When you face it directly, you can begin to work through it. Honesty also extends to how you communicate with others. Many people avoid speaking the truth because they fear conflict. They pretend to agree when they do not. They stay silent when they should speak up. They tell people what they think they want to hear instead of what they actually believe. But this kind of dishonesty damages relationships and creates resentment. If you do not express your real thoughts and feelings, you will never form meaningful connections. People may like you, but they will not truly know you. And worse, you will begin to lose your own voice. The more you suppress your truth, the harder it becomes to speak it. You start doubting yourself, questioning your own opinions, and losing confidence in your ability to stand by what you believe. Telling the truth does not mean being cruel or reckless with your words. It does not mean saying whatever comes to mind without considering the consequences. It means speaking with integrity, with courage, and with the intention of improving yourself and the world around you. Sometimes the truth is painful, but it is always better than the alternative. Lies may provide temporary comfort, but they lead to long-term suffering. The truth, even when difficult, leads to growth, strength, and genuine belief in yourself. Failure is an unavoidable part of life, and how you respond to it determines whether you grow or remain stuck. Many people fear failure so intensely that they refuse to take risks, avoiding challenges that might expose their weaknesses. They convince themselves that it is safer to stay where they are, never venturing beyond what is comfortable and familiar. But this approach comes at a cost. By avoiding failure, they also avoid progress. They never test their abilities, never stretch beyond their current limits, and never develop the resilience needed to handle life's inevitable setbacks. In doing so, they rob themselves of the opportunity to build real confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can fall, get back up, and keep going. The fear of failure is deeply ingrained in the human psyche. It is tied to our sense of identity, to our desire to be accepted and respected. People who fail often feel exposed, as if their weaknesses have been revealed for the world to see. They internalize failure as a statement about their worth, believing that if they fail, they must not be good enough. This mindset is destructive because it turns failure into something personal, rather than what it actually is, a necessary and valuable part of the learning process. The truth is that no one succeeds without failure. Every great achievement, every meaningful accomplishment, every moment of mastery is built on a foundation of trial and error. The most successful people in history have failed more times than most people have even tried. The difference is that they did not allow failure to define them. Instead, they used it as fuel, as feedback, as a stepping stone toward growth. One of the most important shifts in mindset you can make is to stop seeing failure as a verdict on who you are and start seeing it as information. Failure is not proof that you are incapable. It is simply a signal that something did not work. It is data feedback that can be used to improve your approach. When a child learns to walk, they do not succeed on the first attempt. They stumble, they fall, they get up and try again. And they do not see failure as a reason to stop. They see it as part of the process. Somewhere along the way, many people lose this perspective. They start believing that if they do not succeed immediately, they are not meant to succeed at all. But that is not how skill is developed, and it is not how resilience is built. Failure is also a test of character. It reveals how much you truly want something, how committed you are to your goals, and how willing you are to endure discomfort for the sake of growth. Many people give up at the first sign of difficulty, not because they are incapable, but because they do not want to endure the discomfort of failure. They want success to come easily, without struggle, without setbacks. But anything worthwhile requires effort, and that effort will inevitably include moments of failure. The question is not whether you will fail, but how you will respond when you do. Will you retreat into self-doubt and discouragement, or will you analyze what went wrong, adjust your strategy, and try again? One of the most powerful things failure teaches is humility. It strips away arrogance. forcing you to confront the areas where you still need to grow. It exposes your weaknesses, not to shame you, but to give you an opportunity to improve. People who never fail often develop a fragile sense of confidence, one that is based on avoiding challenges rather than overcoming them. But those who have failed and learned from it develop a much deeper confidence, one that is rooted in the knowledge that they can face setbacks and emerge stronger. Failure also teaches resilience. Life is unpredictable, and even the best plans will sometimes fall apart. The ability to keep moving forward despite disappointment is one of the most valuable traits a person can develop. It is what separates those who achieve great things from those who give up too soon. Resilience is built through experience, through repeated exposure to difficulty, through the decision to keep going even when things do not go as planned. The more you fail and recover, the less intimidating failure becomes. You start to see it not as a catastrophe, but as a temporary obstacle, something to navigate rather than something to fear. Another important lesson failure teaches is the importance of adaptation. People often have rigid ideas about how things should go, about what success should look like. When things do not go according to plan, they become discouraged, as if deviating from their original vision means they have failed entirely. But success is rarely a straight path. It requires flexibility, the ability to adjust, to change course when necessary, to recognize when a different approach is needed. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history came from failures that forced people to think differently, to innovate, to find solutions they had not previously considered. If you are unwilling to adapt, you limit yourself. But if you see failure as an opportunity to reassess and refine your approach, you give yourself a much greater chance of success. Failure is also an opportunity to build self-trust. When you face difficulty and push through it, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Each time you get back up after falling, you reinforce the belief that you can handle setbacks, that you do not have to be perfect to make progress. This kind of confidence is not based on external validation. It is built through experience, through struggle, through the knowledge that you have faced challenges before and survived. The reality is that failure is not the end. The real enemy is the fear that stops you from trying in the first place, the avoidance that keeps you stuck in the same patterns, the hesitation that prevents you from taking the steps needed to grow. If you want to believe in yourself, you must be willing to fail. You must be willing to take risks, to put yourself in situations where you might not succeed, to embrace the discomfort that comes with learning and improving. Because every failure, if approached with the right mindset, brings you one step closer to success. Surrounding yourself with the right people is one of the most important factors in developing self-belief. Human beings are social creatures, profoundly influenced by those around them. The people you spend time with shape your thoughts, your habits, and your perception of yourself. If you are constantly surrounded by individuals who doubt you, discourage you, or undermine your confidence, it becomes incredibly difficult to build a strong sense of belief in yourself. On the other hand, if you are surrounded by people who challenge you, support you, and push you toward growth, your ability to believe in your own potential strengthens. Many people underestimate just how much their environment affects them. They assume they can maintain confidence and motivation regardless of the people they interact with daily. But the truth is, no one is immune to influence. The words you hear, the attitudes you observe, and the expectations placed upon you all seep into your mind over time. If you are constantly told that you are not good enough, that your goals are unrealistic, or that failure is inevitable, it becomes harder to maintain the belief that you are capable of success. Doubt spreads like a virus. It does not always announce itself loudly. It often creeps in subtly through sarcasm, through small criticisms, through the unspoken negativity of those who do not want to see you rise above them. One of the greatest dangers is surrounding yourself with people who are comfortable with mediocrity If the people around you lack ambition, if they settle for less than what they're capable of, if they make excuses instead of taking action, their mindset will inevitably influence you. They may not intentionally try to hold you back, but their very presence, their habits, and their expectations create an environment that discourages growth. If you express a desire to improve, they might react with skepticism or even resentment. They may subtly pressure you to stay the same, to remain within the limits they have set for themselves. If you stay in that environment long enough, you begin to adopt their mindset. You start doubting your own potential. You lower your standards. You convince yourself that you should not aim too high because it is safer to stay where you are. It is not enough to simply avoid negative influences. You must actively seek out those who challenge and inspire you. Being around ambitious, driven individuals forces you to raise your own standards. When you see others striving for excellence, taking risks and overcoming obstacles, it becomes clear that growth is possible. These people do not allow you to make excuses. They do not tolerate complacency. They push you to be better, not through criticism or negativity, but through example. They make success seem achievable because they embody the qualities necessary to attain it. Their presence alone can help shift your mindset from doubt to confidence. Another important aspect of surrounding yourself with the right people is seeking out those who genuinely support your growth. There is a difference between those who tolerate your success and those who celebrate it. Some people may not actively try to hold you back, but they also do not encourage you to move forward. They remain neutral, indifferent to your efforts. But others, the right people, will actively uplift you. They will recognize your potential even when you doubt it yourself. They will remind you of your strengths when you feel weak. They will hold you accountable when you start to stray from your goals. These are the people who make you better simply by being in your life. It is also crucial to understand that the right people do not just tell you what you want to hear. Many confuse support with blind encouragement, assuming that true friends should always agree with them. But real support means honesty. The right people will not allow you to deceive yourself. They will call you out when you are making excuses. They will challenge you when you are not putting in the effort. They will tell you the hard truths you need to hear, not to tear you down, but to help you grow. This kind of honesty is rare, but it is invaluable. It prevents self-delusion, holds you to a higher standard, and reinforces the belief that you are capable of more. Sometimes making the choice to surround yourself with the right people means letting go of those who hold you back. This is one of the most difficult decisions a person can make, but it is often necessary. Loyalty is an admirable quality, but it should not come at the expense of your growth. If a relationship is built on negativity, on discouragement, on an unspoken agreement to remain stagnant, it is not a relationship that serves you. Many people fear distancing themselves from certain individuals because they worry about conflict or guilt. But staying in an environment that diminishes your potential is far more harmful in the long run. It is not selfish to prioritize your growth. It is necessary. Another important step is to seek out mentors, people who have already achieved what you are striving for. Learning from those who have walked the path before you accelerates your own progress. A mentor provides guidance, helps you avoid common mistakes, and offers a perspective that can only come from experience. They reinforce the belief that success is not a mystery, but a process that can be understood and mastered. Having someone in your corner who has already overcome the challenges you are facing gives you confidence. It reminds you that the obstacles ahead are not insurmountable, that others have faced similar struggles and emerged victorious. It is also worth considering the impact of the content you consume. In today's world, influence is not limited to direct relationships. The books you read, the videos you watch, the people you follow online, all of these shape your mindset. If you are constantly consuming negativity, if you are filling your mind with content that reinforces doubt, fear, and mediocrity, it will affect your self-belief. But if you expose yourself to content that educates, that inspires, that challenges you to think bigger, it strengthens your confidence. Ultimately, self-belief does not develop in isolation. It is nurtured by the environment you create for yourself. If you want to believe in yourself, you must be intentional about the people you allow into your life. You must surround yourself with those who challenge you, who inspire you, who push you to become more than you currently are. You must be willing to let go of those who hold you back, even when it is difficult. And you must actively seek out influences that reinforce confidence, growth, and the pursuit of excellence.